It's important to understand the jobs that words do in sentences. What kind of words answer the who or what question? Now let's turn to page 42 in your student books. Nouns can be categorized several different ways. The first two columns show one way to sort nouns. They can either be concrete nouns or abstract nouns. Read the words under concrete with me. Stoop, beans, purse. Read the words under abstract with me. Balance, goodness, intelligence. What is the difference between a concrete and an abstract noun? Share out. What's an example of a concrete noun? What's an example of an abstract noun? Nouns can also be categorized as either common or proper. Read the common nouns in the chart with me. Justice, beans, purse. Beans and purse are common nouns that are also concrete nouns. Justice is a common noun, but it can't be seen or touched. So what is it? Now, look at the list of proper nouns and tell me what distinguishes them from common nouns. Nouns can also be classified as singular or plural. Let's review using the examples in the chart. Book. What would be the plural form of book? Table. What would be the plural form of table? Chair. What would be the plural form of chair? Glass. What would be the plural form of glass? Patch. What would be the plural form of patch? Fox. What would be the plural form of fox? Child. What would be the plural form of child? Goose. What would be the plural form of goose? Woman. What would be the plural form of woman? Now let's look down at the plural chart. Notice that the first row of singular nouns requires just an S to make them plural. The second requires an ES to make them plural, while the third set represents irregular spellings. We also studied how to make nouns show ownership or possession. How do you make a singular noun possessive? How do you make a regular plural noun possessive? Now I want you to create 3 sentences using the examples of possessive nouns in the chart: singular, plural, and irregular. You can use the chart as a reference. We recently learned about words that can act like nouns in a sentence. What word takes the place of a noun? Now let's turn to page 43 in the student books. Let's look at the types of pronouns chart. First person pronouns include I. Second person pronouns include you. Third person pronouns include he, she, and it in the singular. They can also include me, you, him, her, and it in the singular, and my, your, his, her, and its in the singular. Now, understanding pronoun usage is essential for reading comprehension. Knowing what or who a pronoun is referencing can dramatically affect your ability to understand what you read. Because nouns have different functions in a sentence, the pronouns that we can use instead of nouns are also different. We choose the pronoun based on the job the noun would be doing in the sentence. Today, we're going to take a closer look at 3 types of pronouns. The chart is missing some information that needs to be added. Examples of the first type of pronoun are listed. Listen to an example for each pronoun. First person, I am walking to my house. Second person, you should come along. Third person, she is standing on the sidewalk. What is the job of the pronoun in each sentence? In each sentence, it provides the main who for the sentence, or the subject. Because they answer the main who or what question, they are the subject pronouns. So go ahead and label the first group of pronouns as subject pronouns in the chart. Right here, right above the word types of pronouns, you're going to label that part of the chart subject. We'll work together to figure out the plural subject pronouns. First person plural refers to a group that includes me. How would I refer to a group that includes me? Maybe Martha, Sam, Jennifer, Bill, and I are going to the movies. What pronoun could be used to fill in the blank? Blank are going to the movies. We are going to the movies. We includes everyone as well as me. Write we in the chart as first person plural pronoun. Now use the pronoun we in a sentence. If I were talking to the group, but not a part of it, I could say, you are going to the movies. You is considered a pronoun that can mean one person or a whole group of people. In other words, it can be singular or plural. Because we want to use it as to mean a group of people, think of a sentence that could be directed to the entire class. Third-person pronouns are used to talk about someone that you are not talking directly to or about something other than the person. Imagine you are talking about Martha, Sam, Jennifer, and Bill going to the movies. Fill in the blank. Blank are going to the movies. They are going to the movies. So I want you to go ahead and fill in the third person plural with they. Now I want you to use they in the sentence. Let's look at the examples for the next type of pronouns. Read them with me. Me, you, him, her, it. Now think of a sentence with the word me. What question does me answer in each of these sentences? Is it the who or is it the did to who question? These pronouns are not functioning as the subject. As part of the predicate, they are working with the verb, or possibly a preposition as an object. So label the second group object pronouns. Right in between, here, where that big blank is, go ahead and write object. Now I want you to go ahead and fill in the plurals for the object pronouns. Do you see any pronouns that can function as both subject and object pronouns? This makes it very important to understand how the pronoun is being used and what noun it is referencing. It is easy to get confused when pronouns are overused. Let's look back at the final group of pronouns in the chart. Read them with me. My, your, his, her, its. Listen. My dog is very friendly. Is your house close to the mall? His books are on the floor. In each sentence, the pronouns are doing the same job. What information are they providing? In each sentence, the pronoun tells us whose things we are referencing. How do we make nouns possessive or show ownership? An apostrophe helps us recognize possessive nouns, but they are not used with pronouns. We have to look for different forms of the pronouns to help us recognize possession or ownership. So now let's work on filling in the plural for the possessive nouns. We're going to go ahead and put possessive pronouns here, and we're going to fill in the plurals. Now let's look at page 44. Read the paragraph and underline the subject, object, and possessive pronouns. In the parentheses, under each pronoun, write the noun it replaced. She was a large woman with a large purse that had everything in it but a hammer and nails. The first pronoun is she. She is the woman. So I'm going to go ahead and underline she. So I'll write woman in parentheses. The other underlined pronoun in this sentence is it. So I'm going to go ahead and underline it. And it refers to purse because the purse has everything in it. So I'm going to write purse. Now let's read the sentence again with the nouns in the place of the pronouns as a way to double check our response. The woman was a large woman with a large purse that had everything in the purse. It sounds silly, but it is correct. Now let's look at the next sentence. It had a long strap, and she carried it slung across her shoulder. We have it again as one of our pronouns, so we're going to underline it. What does it refer to? So we're going to write that answer beneath it. What about she? She carried. Who carried? So we're going to write that answer beneath she. And we have one more it. So we're going to underline that it, and what are we going to say that it refers to? Excellent. So now I'm going to have you go through and finish the rest of page 44. Now let's turn to page 45. Now let's work with words that have a different job. What kind of words answer the "what did they do" question? To have a complete sentence, we need a noun and a verb. So let's consider what we already know about verbs. Like nouns, there are different types of verbs. In the previous unit, we worked with two types of verbs. What were they? What do action verbs tell us? Think about thank you, ma'am. What were some of the actions taken by Mrs. Jones and Roger? What other type of verb did we examine in the previous unit? What is their job? Give some examples of linking verbs. I'm going to write them on the board. We also learned that verbs can help us establish time. What is another word for time when you're talking about verbs? We worked with two different times or tenses, the past and the present. Look at the two examples for regular verbs and tell me how a verb shows past tense. What kind of endings can signal a present tense verb? Irregular verbs do not follow the pattern, and neither do linking verbs. We just have to remember those correct forms. Now let's look at the activity about halfway down. Underline the verb in each of the following sentences. Place check marks in the chart to identify each verb as action or linking and present or past tense. Let's look at our example. She is a large woman. Our verb that's already underlined is, and it's linking, and it's present tense. So linking and present have checks beneath them. Let's look at our second example. She heated lima beans and ham on her stove. Heated is our verb. It's an action that's actually happening, so we're going to put a check in the action box. And it has ed on the end, so that lets us know it's past tense. So there's a check for past. Now let's look at the first sentence. There was another long pause. What do you think the verb that we need to underline in that sentence is? Was is our verb. So we're going to go ahead and underline was. Now, is was action or linking? Was is actually a form of the verb to be, so it is linking. And it's the past tense form of the verb is, so we're going to check past. Now I want you to complete numbers 2 through 5. Now look over and see if your answers match mine. Certain words can help paint the verbs so we have a clearer image of the action. They add information by answering the when, where, and how questions. Because these words add to the verb, we call them adverbs. So let's look at the word adverb. Add, verb. They add to the verb. What do we call words that describe or add information about the verb? What are some of the questions they answer? This additional information allows us to visualize the action more accurately and vividly. Adverbs typically end in ly. Can you name me some adverbs that end in ly that describe a way a person moves? I will write them up on the board. However, not all adverbs end in ly. Let's look at some examples of adverbs that do not end in ly. Can you make me a sentence with one of those adverbs? Now let's look at the sentence on the board. Devin drives. I want you to think about when Devin drives, where Devin drives, or how Devin drives. And I want you to jot down on a piece of paper a sentence that includes all of those answers. Now let's turn in the student book to page 46. Read the following sentences and answer the questions about the underlined verbs. Then write the adverbs in the chart below. In each sentence, the verb has been underlined, and in each sentence, there is additional information about the verb. The information answers the when, where, or how questions. So let's look at the first sentence. The boy's legs flew up. Flew is our verb. Where did they fly? Up. So we're going to write up on the line. Number 2, the boy fell back on the sidewalk. How did he fall? He fell back. So we're going to write that on the line. Now I want you to answer questions 3 through 10. When we read, we use adverbs to visualize the action more vividly as we read. When we write, we use adverbs to paint those vivid images. Adverbs answer the when, where, and how questions. So do prepositional phrases. A prepositional phrase begins with little words that work very hard in sentences. They are called prepositions. Prepositions are small words that show the position or relationship between words in a sentence. Let's look at the sentence on the board. Roger is at the table. What does the word at tell us about Roger and the table? It tells us where Roger is. Where is he? In this sentence, the word at shows the position or relationship between words in the sentence. What are these types of words like at called? Prepositions. Notice that it has the word position in it to let us know it talks about the positions between words. Its name contains a powerful hint about its job. I can change the position or relationship by changing the preposition. We can say Roger is at the table, or we could say he's on the table, and think of how that changes what the sentence means. He's above the table. He's by the table. Roger is under the table. That changes the meaning entirely. Or Roger is behind the table. I'm going to give you a cue sentence that I want you to use whenever you're trying to decide if a word is a preposition or if you're trying to think of a preposition. The rabbit hopped blank the log. The words that can fit in that sentence and make sense are prepositions. The words that can't, that are listed, are not prepositions. The rabbit hopped at the log. Yep, got to the log, hopped. The rabbit hopped on the log. Still makes sense. The rabbit hopped by the log. He's doing a lot of hopping right by the log. The rabbit hopped under the log. Imagine if the log were up high and he just kind of hops along underneath it. The rabbit hopped behind the log. The log's right here and he decides to hop behind it. But what if I were to say the rabbit hopped car the log? That makes no sense. Or the rabbit hopped fast the log. Still makes no sense. The rabbit hopped slowly the log? Again, it doesn't make sense. What about the rabbit hopped run the log? Nope. Now you try it. Try to find at least 2 words other than the words listed that work in the sentence. If the word works, it's a preposition.